exactly a month after Kian was born that I remember calling you about it. And then with a break in between for 1 year, which is what I've taken. I'm, in spite of being a sports person, I don't think I have ever trained per se. In fact, it just made me realize that if I had gotten it done at a much earlier age, where I would have been now in terms of struggling with different kinds of things. So even though being a sports person, if the food was different growing up, which is what I'm doing with Naman and Kian now, or with what most of us are trying to do with our kids, the struggle that we do now at our age is something that can completely be avoided, is my outlook on it. You know, and that's how we always tend to do these things. Like, you know, I went through that whole craze of, yeah, I've lost this much weight, fine, but now I want to see the weight loss. I don't want to see only inches lost on me. I need to see that on the weighing scale. And now, you know what I was doing. I was practically like, oh, but I'm only like having chas, or I'm only having this, and I've cut this out of my, and none of that stuff even moved a little bit on the weighing scale. So I love working out, which was one of the things that I just realized that, you know, it makes me feel good. And it's not easy, especially when you go on holidays and then you come back, and to get back into that routine, it wasn't easy. But what was easy was, once I was there, that boredom was not there that I otherwise used to hear from other people. So the fact that it was different programs, it was about working with how I felt in terms of how many hours have I slept, how is my body feeling, how tired I am, and all that. So at least my trainer would end up making those changes just based on how I was feeling on that day and time. And in spite of that, whether it was an intense program or if it was a light program, it was cardio or strength training or, you know, only core strengthening, I felt great after each one of those workouts. The emails that you send, I actually read every single one of them. And I just how I am as a person, I just feel like you can always learn. You can learn from no matter what or who, the age, this, that, everything, you can always just learn. So when each one of your emails, there was, I would say 9 out of 10 times, there was always something new I learned from it. Whether it was another person's experience, or whether it was the feedback you got from a new book that you read, or a trip you had taken somewhere and the viewpoint on it. And to me, when you talked about this book and the book reading club, or, you know, leading up to a discussion of It Starts With Food, it just made me think, okay, let's just take a look at it. Things can be reversed. So to me, that is honestly the line that got me grip. That, you know, things can be reversed when it comes to diabetes, when it comes to your hypertension. So when they talked about how this diet particularly, I don't like to say that it's a diet because it wasn't really a diet per se. It's about the change in my food quality and choices. Can change my hormonal system, and I should not be weighing myself for those 30 days. I should not be worried about whether the weight drops or it doesn't drop, but it's about the way I feel, which is what I used to focus on when I was in training, right? So it makes me feel good. And if that's the focus, automatically things fall into place.
What were the rules, what are the do's, the don'ts of what you followed and what you understood and how you applied it in that month?
So for me, clearly the take back that I had was, you eat, if you're non-veg, which I am, a palm size piece of meat, whether it's chicken or lamb or seafood for that matter, in any way or form. It's literally a palm size. And then the rest of the plate needs to be filled up with vegetables, whether they are cooked, whether they are raw, in any way and form that you like.
That's very well put.
I used to avoid potatoes. I think I've eaten the most amount of potatoes in this past month that I probably would have in the past 4 or 5 years.
And you love them?
And I love potatoes, sweet potatoes more so. But what I did realize is, in spite of eating those, I still lost weight, which was a realization for me. Besides that, worked with nuts. I used to have a lot of peanuts, which was like my snacks. Peanuts or the chana, which is the common thing. Instead of I was having cashews or almonds or walnuts for that matter, or hazelnuts, and I didn't feel that heaviness or even the tiredness that I usually would end up feeling otherwise, even though my diet per se was different. Whether it was post-training, which I used to in extreme heavy weight training days, I would actually feel tired. I wouldn't be able to move around, and I would always justify saying, oh, it was because I lifted more of that weight. So those were the changes. And the oils, that we literally cook all our food in either coconut oil, ghee, and parsley and olive oil. But it was a lot of ghee. Practically everything was in ghee.
So you didn't use any vegetable oils?
None of them. None of them.
What are the other food categories that you avoided?
So I avoided lentils, which is very hard, I'll admit. So no form of lentils at all. Doesn't matter what kind of dal, even no sprouting and then cooking. It wasn't even that. And then avoided dairy completely, which is the other hard thing for me, only for yogurt. And of course no white wheat, breads, rice.
Sugar.
Sugar was a big one. Sugar, not only sugar, no jaggery, no honey, no stevia, no Splenda, no sweetness in any form or way besides fruits. Fruits also a handful. So it wasn't on a regular basis. But I used to have bananas, I used to have papaya. It wasn't like it shouldn't be a sweet fruit or anything. I would eat.
So in the month of January that you did this, what is the sequence of benefits that you experienced in your body, mind, whatever way? But can you track, because you're very tuned in, overall, also being a physiotherapist, I'm sure. So it would be great to know what was the sequence of this, is what I'm interested in.
So it actually starts off with what they mentioned in the book. So in the book they talked about how in the first week what your symptoms are going to be, and then in the second week what your symptoms are going to be. So that's what helped me with this book. They literally spelled out in the first week, this is what's going to happen. You are probably going to feel nauseous. You are probably going to have a headache. You are going to be low on energy. And not only did they mention that, but they also talked about why. It's because your body is trying to figure out, okay, it's no longer getting that sugar. So where is it going to get that energy from? And it's trying to go through those changes. So the first 3.5 days were extremely tough for me. I literally had a headache for 3.5 days. It was literally 3.5 days. That afternoon of one of those days, that I was just, boom, it's gone. It was like a switch off. No headache whatsoever. And I just started feeling really good. So for me, it didn't last a week. I had no nausea. For my mom, who was also doing it with me, she was nauseous. She was one of those individuals who was like, I cannot eat meat. It just makes me nauseous. I'm not going to be able to sustain this. But no complaints whatsoever when she was doing it in this form. So whether it was the fact that we had increased the fat content, the good fat content, it just gelled with her body. Extreme things that we've talked about, whether it's the zone diet and all. So while those changes are taking place, you do end up like either the bodily system doesn't suit it, either it's constipation or diarrhea or just an upset tummy in general. With this particular one, I had none of that at all. If anything, it really helped me significantly in the way I felt. So those first 3.5 days was tough. That happened. Then a week and a half into me doing this, I've been with you guys for like I said, 6 years complete. Month of December and half of November, I was not at all regular because of the holiday season, all of that stuff. Till now, I've only been able to do one full chin up on my own. a week and a half into this, I was able to do 4 in a row on my own. And then now it's worked up to 2 sets of 5. But to me, that was something I couldn't explain. I just couldn't, because I was like, it's not like I worked my way up, or I have, I don't know, just this surge of energy post whatever it is that I may have done where I wasn't feeling extremely tired. I was just able to do it, struggled with that. I am an individual that had PCOD. My gynac also, I've been seeing her for the past 4 to 5 months because I was just not feeling good at the age of 38. And she was talking about how women are becoming perimenopausal post 35. So for me, she had said, okay, let's try this out, get on a few vitamins, something that I have never done. I mean, yes, they do recommend after you deliver to, get on calcium and get on this and that. It's just something I've been lazy about doing. So she did put me on a bunch of vitamins and also a very light hormonal thing just to regulate my menstrual periods. And I said, okay, let's try it out. All this stuff. Did it for the month of September, October, November, December, where yes, everything was regulated, but it's not like it was being done in a more natural way. I felt better post getting on those pills, but it wasn't a natural feeling. It was about me remembering, okay, I have to take this. January, when I did this particular program, in spite of being on those pills, and I had done actually blood work at that time versus repeated it in the month of January, which she wanted me to do, I just noticed that my levels were a lot better on the blood work. I'd done it twice last year, which I hadn't seen that change after getting on the pills as well. And then in the month of January, it was a much more significant difference. So that was one thing that changed hormonally for me. And then it's about, again, bringing it back to the food thing. When I did go back to the gynac, she actually told me to get off everything. And she said, just maintain this clean diet and the changes will happen on its own. So to me, that was again a further realization that it does boil down to food at the end of the day, and it worked for me. So I needed to see that in order for me to be able to even recommend it to any of my patients and stuff. When weight was not the focus for me the first time ever, I did end up losing about 2.5, almost 3 kgs on it, without me realizing that I was losing that weight. And what changed in the body composition? Inches, like crazy. My skin improved in ways that I mean, no face, hair. My hair was just seeming a lot more healthier, growing so much better, lesser hair fall, if at all. I barely have any anyways, but even in that I could see that difference.
You're a physical therapist and you work with your hands a lot. And one of the things we had spoken about earlier was, the joint pain that you used to experience because you're working with your hands. And you did mention to me that you felt a difference with that as well.
So I'll tell you, yes. So that's a very interesting point. So I have been feeling all of those joint pains and all for I don't know how long. And it probably, the only thing I can relate it to is my work. But besides that, it was also every now and then I'd get knee pain or, ankle pain. I would still fight through it because it was that addiction of coming to the gym a lot more than anything else. But 3.5 weeks into it was when I started it. So it took a much longer time for me to see the improvement in my fingers and my any kind of bone or joint pain. I would wake up without pain at all. So the joint pain surely improved.
And the book talks about this? I can't remember, but does it?
It does talk about decreasing the inflammation in your body. Overall decreases, which is what it is, right? Pain is what? Inflammation, part of inflammation. So staying away from lentils, staying away from dairy tends to make the biggest impact on the inflammation in your body, no matter where you may have it. So for some people it's a specific area, especially if it's a niggling thing that's occurring over a longer period of time. And for me, my biggest thing was my fingers.
I hear from a lot of women who are partly vegetarian or vegetarian who say that I can't do without my carbs. And you have also been one of those, who said that in all the years of saying try this or try that, it's like, no, I need my carbs. And you spoke about not having lentils, but grain is the big one in this diet, right? Where you had no grain whatsoever. So what do you relate that to? The ability to say, okay, I don't feel that anymore.
But on my vegetarian days, there are so many options that were there, and I just discovered newer ways of doing different things with the same foods. So like I'm a South Indian, grown up eating rice, and that too curd and rice, the two things that I could not have, or for that matter, a dal, which was just always there, right, on the side, and I could have dal as a soup. Oh, sambar is a great thing, right, and lentils. So taking away those things, I just discovered, and how can I end up replacing that same thing with different kinds of food that would also keep me happy in terms of my mindset. So I did go on the internet and I did look up a bunch of different Whole30 recipes. So simple things that replace rice, cauliflower, grating cauliflower, and then basically doing the same thing. Whether it's a poha, I would make the poha but with cauliflower instead, in the same ingredients, and the taste was very similar. Or for that matter, a pulao or a biryani, but with cauliflower versus anything else. Then, like I said, potatoes replaced it in many ways and forms. And potatoes or any roots, for that matter, whether it's a sweet potato or anything in that field, you notice that if you're doing the Whole30, being a vegetarian, you bump up the number of hemp seeds that are out there. You can end up adding those to the salads, which also makes you feel a little fuller. So there were many other things that I could have literally done this full month, also being a vegetarian.
Somebody should just do the Whole30 instead of reading the book first and then doing it. What's your take on that?
I think no, absolutely no, because in the past I've also asked you, right, several things. Okay, so what worked about it? It's so easy to get that information from the other individual. I think you get into it then half prepared. For me, like I started off telling you, it actually motivated me to do it 110 to 120% only because I read the book.
It shows you that you don't, people say that, what am I going to eat outside when I go outside? But there are, when you're looking, there are lots of choices, right? Irrespective of the cuisine and where you are. And,
yeah. No, there are lots of choices. We don't realize. Like I ordered fish, like a sea bass, grilled sea bass with caramelized onions versus regular pizza pasta thing. And Sandeep also ordered like a grilled chicken. What are you doing, Kian?
I am making a dessert for my dad's work.
Okay, but this is strawberry. So you're telling me that you're going to give him fruit?
Yes.
Why fruit for dessert?
Because fruit is healthy and I'm going to add some chocolates with it.
Okay, so he doesn't only eat chocolate?
No.
Why can't you just give him only chocolate?
Because that's unhealthy and he doesn't like it.
How do you know that's unhealthy?
Because whenever I try to give him some, he doesn't want it, so I eat it.
Okay.